let's go ahead and do it. Are we live?
On 2 places.
So get us back to the Utah South Studios screen. You know what I mean? So that before we go live, there you go, and then put everything live. Wait till everything goes live,
an intro,
and then
before
we'll fade out of that.
Yeah.
I think that's a good way to at least to practice that process. Cool. Are we live on all these different servers right now?
Yeah.
Sweet. So, hey, I'm Robert John Hadfield.
I'm Daniel Knowlton.
This is Daniel over here.
Howdy.
We're at Utah South Studios in St. George, Utah. We have recently picked up a live setup, and what we're doing here, we've been doing this for a couple days, and we're just experimenting and kind of trying to master the process. So as we get clients in here, they're going to start doing live recordings and live events and seminars and things like that we have all of everything kind of dialed in, so everybody knows what's going on and how to do everything. And we're trying to get everybody in the studio trained on different pieces of this so that we can make this work going forward. So today what we're going to do is we're going to experiment a little bit with some of the still images. It's kind of seeing how this works and what it's like to interact with the thing. So what we have here is we have 3 different cameras. We actually have a 4th camera set up, but I think it's off right now. And then we have our ability to bring up the screen so we can talk about and listen to different things on the Mac here, and then discuss whatever's being said, hear what they're talking about. Yesterday we did some Gary Vaynerchuk, and anybody that watched yesterday will know that it sounded awful. We had some audio issues, which I think we've resolved. And once again, that's why we're kind of experimenting with this right now. So right this second, we're streaming out to Facebook, to YouTube, to LinkedIn, and Twitter. I think those are the 4. I didn't get Discord set up. We do have a Discord server, but everything I tried to hook up to it today wasn't liking the videos.
Yeah, we'll have that
Didn't like the
infrastructure
connection.
up soon enough.
Yeah, we'll get the rest of that in place. But the fact that we're streaming out to 4 different platforms at the same time is kind of cool. And this is what we want to be able to provide to people, is we have people coming into the studio. You know, we actually have several different clients that do seminars and do events. And so what we're hoping to be able to do is provide this resource. So I've actually talked to a couple of different people that work with us already that are interested in coming in and putting on events. And you know, the neat thing about it is then you can bring a whole audience to you virtually and charge people to come into the event. You can set it up so that if you don't charge people, at least you can have people register ahead of time, and then people can interact with you, and then you can have these virtual events. And that's what we're going to be using this for, plus doing our own videos, our own podcasts, and that kind of thing internally too. So we have a lot of neat stuff in the works right now. So we're pretty excited about this.
And there are so many further ideas we can hop on, so many avenues of approach we can take going forward with this.
Absolutely. You bet. And you know, Nicole, you know what might be fun is turn that back camera on, and then in just a second you can flip it into, you know how to switch the camera and the computer and what have you, and then we can switch to that every once in a while and kind of show people what the setup looks like, at least right now. It's a little bit junky.
It has no battery.
Oh, it's dead? Oh, then don't worry about it. I'll change it in a minute. We can worry about that later. It's kind of a neat thing to see, you know, kind of get a behind the scenes look of what we're doing here. So anyway, we're going to do here for a minute, we're going to experiment a little bit with some graphics, putting them up on the screen, taking a look at them, and talking about different graphics. So let's go ahead, let's try some of the left third graphics. Does that make sense? So why don't you start off with the one with just Rebecca's face, and I think that's 01, graphic 01. What I did is I grabbed a couple of random pictures that I thought were kind of cool for various reasons. There you go. So what we're going to do is we're going to run the macro where it's the third. Yeah, there. Yeah. So Nicole knows what she's doing. Little by little, we're kind of getting these processes set up so that we can jump back and forth quickly. So right now, you're looking at my computer screen, and then what we're going to do is we're going to switch it out to. So what you're doing, Nicole, is you want to go to the picture.
No.
Okay, so go back to the third. Run the third macro. There you go.
Yes.
And then go to the still image, which is over to the side of the fourth, not on there. Go over to the keyboard and hit still. So go to the fourth.
That's right.
There you go. That's it.
That makes more sense.
There's a million buttons and a million things to do. And that's why we're doing this right now, so that we can kind of experiment with that, with what we're putting up on the screen. So to get that graphic back up on the screen, you're going to have to hit the still image. There we go. And I'm not sure, is it when you switch cameras between me and Daniel?
Yeah, it's not like switching to you. That's
Okay,
what
okay.
you do.
But don't do it on the unit. Do it on the run a macro.
Well, that's where I'm trying to find is which one that is, because I'm on C3L.
Okay, hang on just a second. I'm going to step down there.
Yeah, 'cause that's up, but I tried clicking it. Oh, there we go.
Okay, so I see what's happening. Okay. So we need change these to half. I see what's going on. So the macro is part of the macro is that it's changing the background. Okay,
Yeah, so that's why I see it.
that makes total sense. I see what's going on. So we have to what we need to do is program a new macro. So right this second, what you're going to have to do to make that work is you're going to have to change the each time you change the thing, you're going to have to change the picture. So maybe just, yeah, that's not going to work very well the way we have it set up. So switch the camera. Let's go back to the third on the camera and then switch it back to the picture. So switch to me. There you go. Now switch back to the picture. Okay, so what we need to do, so those of you that are watching, this is not going to work correctly, because what we've got to do now is that macro, we have to set up a macro that does not change camera 4.
Yeah.
Because that's what those macros are doing, is they're changing to, and that's what the problem is each time you do it. So we're going to have to remove that part of the macro. So anyway, we thought it would be kind of interesting because then we can look at some pictures, and we've set these things up so that we will be in the left-hand side, and then the picture that we're talking to will be right. Check that out. I can point right there. So I picked this particular picture because this is a picture that I like that I took in Mae Hon Song in Thailand, which is someplace Nicole's been a bunch of times.
Yeah.
And this was in a bookstore. It was a coffee shop, and it was a little bookstore. And I just really liked how this picture turned out. I thought there was this kind of an open window, so the light came in, was shining on her face. And then what I did is we did some depth of field, so that her face is really in focus, and then the background is blurred out. You can see those kind of books. And then what I really liked about the image then is not only the light coming straight on her face, but then actually how the light reflected off the books in the background. Thought that was kind of neat. So anyway, this was just an example of how we're going to be able to utilize looking at some photos. So why don't you go to another photo and okay, so you can swap out the photos
Yeah, that's fine.
without changing the camera angle, at least for now. So we just have to remember to write another macro about this. This is a really cool picture because this is over in Snow Canyon. And for people who are not from southern Utah, you may not realize how within 5 minutes of St. George in every direction, you have these just amazing, amazing scenery. And what they were doing here, this is a group of people from Zion Massage College, and what Rebecca does with them is she'll take them on these little kind of adventures. And in this case, they were doing, y'all heard of Wim Hof? You know who Wim Hof is?
Not familiar.
So Wim Hof is this guy, I think he's in Iceland, and he does all these, he's called the Iceman. I think, is that what they call him? The Iceman? Is that what it is? And his whole shtick is largely about immersing yourself in cold water, like all the time.
Okay, I'm familiar with this guy. The name didn't trigger anything in my mind, but yes, I'm familiar with his concept, his philosophy a little bit. It's like something about cold water, the shock effect that it has on the body, and the positive benefits there are to be taken away from that in a long-term sense.
Right.
He has a huge following, and he's massively influential in that field.
Right. Yeah, I mean he has a huge following, and I mean he's been on Joe Rogan. He's all over the place, and I don't know. I have I'm not sure about the guy. I think he's fairly interesting, but he's a little bit wacky. When I watch him, I go Anyway, it's an interesting concept that he's picked up. But anyway, what she does here is in this particular case. This was in the spring, as I recall, and this is some water that was left over in part of Snow Canyon. You have to hike in a ways to get to this. And so she took her students, and then what they did a few seconds after this photo is they all went down into the water, where they would go into this really cold immersion. And what we can do here, Nicole, and maybe we can experiment with this, is jump to camera 2 while Daniel and I are talking, and then you can see about jumping back and doing. So remember, when you jump to camera 2, to also hit those 2 at the same time.
Yeah, still working that in.
There you go. So go ahead, and while we're doing this, go back and forth on Daniel with the picture, me with the picture, and then coming back out of it. And then just kind of, like I said, experimenting with this. That's the point of this right now, is for us to just mess around with this unit and do this. But anyway, so this picture, once again, then right after this, she took all these students and they went down in that water. And then you sit in that water, this freezing cold water, for a certain amount of time. And then it's supposed to do certain things for your blood and your skin, the way the fat operates, or I can't remember what it is. There's this brown, what is it called? It's like the brown fat, or I can't remember what it is. There's these supposed health benefits that come from it. And so, but setting all that aside, the Zion Massage College, one of the things that they do that's so cool is Rebecca she's this, I don't even know how to explain her. She knows way more than like anybody I've ever met about health and wellness and all this amazing different things you can do from all over the world, all these different things from literally the entire planet. And she will take her students on these excursions, or she's had them come to her house. They do all these different things at the school, and anybody that goes to that school not only learns the massage techniques, but they get this basically international immersion in health and wellness. And this is just an example of it, where I went with them when they did this particular excursion up in Snow Canyon. I didn't get in the water. She actually, it's interesting. She actually has there's a trick to this too, by the way. She has at one of her spas a massive ice bath that they keep at this temperature that's just right above freezing. I mean, it's really, really obnoxiously cold.
And I've heard talk about this. I know that like Rogan pushes ideas. He talks about his own home-built sauna. He's got like the sauna for the heat bath, and then he's got like the ice bath, like just built into his home. $10,000, maybe $100,000 investment. And he pushes an idea that he's learned that what he applies is he'll take 15 minutes in his morning and jump straight into the ice bath as low as like freezing temperatures, if not maybe lower. It's wild. And what
Tony
he'll do-
Robbins does this too.
Yeah, somebody pushed the idea on him, and he loves it, and he's pushing it constantly on his own podcast. And what he's surmised from this is that the effect of going from that ice bath to the sauna and just pushing your body through these extreme conditions that you just have to endure has a long-lasting dopamine effect in your mind.
Interesting. I've heard Tony Robbins talk about it, where he just, without fail, the first thing he does is when he gets out of bed is just hop in the freezing cold water. And he just does it every day no matter what. And it's kind of here we go, get up, get going, time to go. I've heard him explain it, and I go, that's actually kind of brilliant to do
I've heard
yourself, do that to yourself.
biochemical arguments for it. I've heard just philosophical, like if the hardest part of your day, just make it jumping in that bath, and everything else about your day is going to be so much easier in comparison.
The physiological thing is one thing that I kind of question personally, but the psychological I don't. That one to me is obvious. You know, you force yourself to do something like that right off the bat, and it's intense. And there's a trick to it too. And this is where I see, because I've done this a bunch of times. I've gotten in these ice baths a bunch of times. If you ever do it, don't do it slowly.
Just dive right in.
Just get in 100% as fast as you can. Because if you get into it and you ease yourself into it, it is torture.
Oh yeah.
And that's it. I've watched a bunch of people do this, and that's what makes it hard. Is that if you just dive, if you go all in,
anticipation that just builds up in you, the dread from just waking up, knowing you have to do it, and then slowly approaching it like more and more. You're just gonna psych yourself out the more slow you do it.
Yeah, and then as you get in, you put your feet in, and then you slowly go into your knees, and then when you get to your genital region,
and at that point, you're just done.
Torture.
You're just telling yourself you got to get out.
Go. It's a little bit, and it's really interesting because it overwhelms you so much that you notice it less. The intensity is so much your body can't actually respond to it because you do it so fast. I've explained it. It's a little bit like if you've ever done your nose hair. So okay, think of it this way: if you pull out one hair, it hurts, right? But if you pull out 100 hairs, it doesn't hurt. It just shocks you. And so, and I learned this on accident with my daughter, because my daughter's a cosmetologist. And one time I was over at her house and she was cutting my hair. And I was commenting about how I'm becoming an old man and how my nose hair grows. You know, you guys don't have to deal with that yet, but the older you get, your eyebrows, your nose hair just starts going. Okay. And so she said, right after I said that, she got this big thing of wax out and then put these, got these sticks stuck into my nose.
Yep.
And then 5 minutes later, once it hardened, pulls it. Well, the thing is, when you pull out 100 different hairs and then in both nostrils at the same time, so you've got like 400 hairs getting yanked out, all it does is go.
Yep.
It's
an immediate shock.
You don't feel the pain because it's like your brain can't handle 500 hairs being pulled out, where one you feel it and it hurts, but 500 you don't. So it's the same principle when you're getting into one of those ice baths. Don't do it slowly. Just get in. Anyway, I don't know why I got off on that, but that's what that picture was. Rebecca is this really amazing human being that takes her students on these incredible excursions, and this is an example of one in Snow Canyon. And once again, if you've never been in southern Utah, this is what southern Utah is like everywhere. Where we live in St. George, you go 5 minutes outside of the city in all directions, and this is the kind of stuff that you see. It's so amazing. In Denver, where I'm from, where I've spent most of my life, everybody goes, oh, the scenery's so great, and the mountains are right there. No. You don't understand what mountains are right there is really all about. This place, the mountains are literally right there. You're driving down the street, and there's mountains and scenery like all over the place. It's incredible here. So anyway, that's part of this graphic here. So I think I have one other picture that's related to Zion Massage College. Oh yes. You know what? So Nicole, the reason I put this in here was for Nicole, but Nicole didn't want to be on camera today. This is a picture that I took the last time I was in Thailand.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Chiang Mai.
Now, this is in Chiang Mai. Now, you've been in Thailand in Christmas, haven't you?
I haven't actually.
Okay.
I've only been there during summer.
But you don't even have to be there during Christmas. You have to be there in a month prior to Christmas or a month after Christmas. It just never goes away. They are big time into Christmas, although they have no idea what it is. What's that?
I said, "Sawadika, Santa Claus."
Yeah, they don't understand what they're doing, but man, they are into Christmas in a big way.
Yeah, I was
And
never there for that.
it's crazy. Everywhere you go in Thailand, and this is what's so funny. I think this might have been taken like mid-January. The trees are still up. You're walking down the street and you're hearing Christmas carols coming out of all the restaurants. It's hilariously awesome. It's not a Christian country. Most of the people have no idea what's going on, but still this is a picture I think I took in mid-January in Thailand, because they will celebrate Christmas for long before Christmas and long after Christmas. They're still doing it. And it's a big deal in Thailand. Christmas is.
That sounds remarkable. The amount of enthusiasm that's so long lasting. What is that? 3 months out of 12? That's like a fourth of the year.
Yeah,
just
it's pretty cool. They get.
I'm assuming there's lots of commercials then for like Christmas stuff. That's probably where a lot of it.
You mean like on TV? Because
Yeah.
I don't know, because I never see TV when I'm there.
Oh, okay.
At least I don't.
Ads are really interesting.
I haven't really watched any TV. Partly because I don't speak the language. You speak part of it,
Tarzan time.
so you can get around with it. I don't. So, anyway, and by the way, we should see if everybody can actually hear us, if the sound's coming through. I don't have my phone with me. My daughter was texting me last time telling me that it sounded awful. So we may want to, at some point, go get on a Facebook page and look and listen and see if this is actually coming through. Anyway, that's why I put that picture up there. So let's jump over to those tiny home pictures and have Daniel come over and he can mess around with the controls a little bit. You guys can see how it works, and then maybe log into the Utah South Studios Facebook account and see if it's coming through. Make sure that the sound is working. And yeah, there you go. And I will just be here by myself talking for a few minutes while we pull some pictures up. And so once again, those of you that are just joining, that are watching this right now, I'm Robert John Hadfield with Utah South Studios in St. George, Utah. And what we're doing is we've picked up some equipment so that we can do live events coming out of the studio. And we've had this now for a little bit over a week. We're doing some different things with it. We're trying it. We've had some audio issues. We've kind of worked out the bugs on that. We're creating macros to automate some of these little things. And what we're doing is probably within a week or two, we're going to be to a point where we're going to be able to bring clients in here, have events, set things up so that they can have seminars in here. You can invite people to these. And anyway, so we've got some really, really neat stuff. Plus, we're going to be doing our own broadcasts out of here as well. And so a lot of cool things coming. But there really hasn't been anything like this available for the most part in southern Utah. And so we're setting this up and getting ourselves in a position where we can do this. And I've already talked to a couple clients who are interested in coming in here and doing some events, because what you're going to be able to do then is create an event and get people signed up, register for it, even pay to come attend an event. And that's the kind of stuff we're going to be doing. It's pretty cool. I'm very excited about what we have going on here. And so what we're doing today is we had some audio issues yesterday. We think we've worked out all the kinks with the audio stuff. And now what we've done is we've created some macros on the equipment, and we're kind of experimenting right now to get all this stuff dialed in and kind of learning the button changes and whatever and what have you. So Nicole, were you able to hear it?
Sounds good on YouTube.
So YouTube sounds good. Yeah, and right now what we're doing is we're streaming to 4 different platforms. Hopefully they're all working. We're streaming to Facebook, we're streaming to YouTube, we're streaming to Twitter, and we're streaming to LinkedIn. So all 4 of those platforms right now should be receiving this little broadcast that we're doing. And we have 4 different cameras hooked up. One of the cameras is running off a battery, and the battery apparently died. So we actually have a new power supply coming in. So we'll have 4 cameras running whenever we do these. Plus, we'll be able to switch to a computer monitor and watch and listen to whatever's on the monitor, and we'll be able to show graphics, different things. Anyway, so we've got a whole bunch of things we're working on right now to make this awesome. So this is really, really cool setup that we have right now, and we're trying to get this all dialed in so that in the next week or so, we're going to be able to bring clients in here and start doing interviews, start doing some cool things that way. And actually, I was talking to somebody about this morning. Right before COVID, we started a series called Success in the West, and what we were doing is we were working with the St. George Area Economic Development Group, and we were bringing in a lot of businesses and leaders of businesses in the St. George area to talk a little bit about their businesses, how they succeed in a smaller market like this. Because what was happening is a lot of these cities, a lot of these smaller cities like St. George, it's a small city, it's 100,000 people compared to like Denver, where I'm from. It's small, but there's even smaller cities around here. Cedar City, about 45 minutes north of here, I think has 30,000 people. So there's a lot of things, and succeeding in a market like this is different than trying to succeed in a place like Denver. For example, the production studio that we're recording out of right now, this studio that we have, if we were in Denver, there are probably 50 places just like this all over the city, and it would just be another one. Where in St. George, this is it. So it's a different thing moving into a smaller city and trying to succeed in a place like this. You have a different, the pool of talent that's available to you is very different. The skill set, the resources, shipping and receiving. I mean, all of it's different when you're in a smaller city. And so what happens is a lot of cities, as they're thinking about moving into, a lot of businesses, as they're thinking about moving into a smaller city like this, they have a lot of questions. What do we do about this? What do we do about that? And so what was happening was these different, like the Chamber of Commerce, the St. George Area Economic Development Group, they're having to field all of these questions as they're dealing with different companies that are interested in either opening up, new branches here or moving the entire company here, that kind of thing. And so what we started doing is we started doing a series where we bring a lot of business owners in, and we would just go through the questions, talking to them about what it's like working here, having a business here. And it was really enlightening for me personally because I was conducting the interviews. And so anyway, but we did a whole series of these. We probably had 15 different people, a lot of the heavy hitter people, at least in St. George. I don't know, a lot of people don't realize this, but there's a lot of pretty big sized companies that are actually based here. And you find as some of these big cities are getting crazier, there's companies wanting to move into the smaller communities like this. And so what we were doing is creating a kind of a resource. So what we're going to do for people that are interested in moving their businesses into a smaller community like this, where they can go actually listen to business owners, these interviews we're doing. Well, what we were doing before is we were actually recording these videos and over in one of our sets. And what we're going to do going forward is we're actually going to bring people in and do these videos live. So, and we're going to start scheduling these things on a weekly basis. And that's going to be something that's going to be coming up soon. So anyway, that's part of the reason that we set up the live set here in the studio. And so right now we've got Nicole, Daniel over here that are both working on the live setup, kind of switching cameras and experimenting with all the different things that we have set up. And each time we get together and work on it, we've added new things. New capabilities, and we're once again, if you're watching this and the reason you're seeing everything changing on the screen and all the stuff changing is we're kind of experimenting with the different macros and things that we've set up in the meantime, and I'm just trying to just continue talking and rambling so that you can so I'm keeping things going. So, and hopefully maybe say something interesting along the way as we do this. So let's go ahead, just so we can experiment with it. Let's throw up, there you go. So here's a picture of one of the homes. And when we do these, remember, these are the pictures that we wanted to do the bottom third, because this is a full screen graphic, right? So we have different macros where we have the ones where it's the left third, which is what you're watching right now. And then what we're talking about is running a macro where I will now be on the bottom right while we're looking at full-size graphics, or in this case, the bottom left. The reason we were doing the bottom right is because we have the two cameras set up to the bottom right, which isn't as important right here. So I want to show you something. And so this is a little bit about photography. And I have 3 different graphics, and they're all of the same tiny home. We have been working with Zion's Tiny Homes for a long time, and it's an amazing company. If you ever get a chance, go to zionstinyhomes.com, find their Facebook page, find their YouTube channel. They build these tiny homes, and they're actually really incredible from an investment standpoint. They've got an amazing business. So go to zionstinyhomes.com and you can learn a bit more about it. And then they also have a place where you can go stay in these homes, and it's a place called Zion's Tiny Getaway. And that's, once again, you go to zionstinygetaway.com and you can see what this place that they have. That it's a resort, and they have all these different tiny homes you can go. And this is the picture you're looking at right now. Is not the resort. This is actually in their warehouse, their factory where they build these things. And it's really, really incredible. And so what I wanted to do is I have these 3 photos, and they all say red. Daniel, you can see that each one of them says red. There's 1, 2, and 3. And what I thought would be fun here to do for a second is talk a little bit about photography. And so go to number 1. Okay. So these 3 pictures that we're going to look at are all the same home, just taken from different angles with different lenses and lighting. And so this one right here, I loved this picture. And the reason I like this, even though it's a combination of extremely bright and dark at the same time. And what I did here is I went and it was a total accident that I was taking these pictures at this time of day, and I got down. Photography, great photos, in my opinion, are frequently taken at not eye level. Okay, if you hold your camera right at eye level and take a picture at eye level, most of the time there's nothing very interesting about it, because you're taking the picture from an angle that everybody sees it at anyway. So to get some of the most interesting pictures, it's finding an angle that most people are not seeing from. And so what I did in this case was I got it kind of closer to the ground so that I was shooting up. Because if I was shooting this at eye level right now, I would be, you'd see up a lot higher, because my head actually goes as high as that first ridge, coming off the front of the thing. I don't know how to explain it. It kind of shoots over, you can see that bottom window, and then it kind of has that ledge that comes out. I'm actually, my head would go up past that, I think. So, but anyway, so I got down maybe about 2.5 feet off the ground right here. And I specifically got this one because I was getting that sun reflection. And I loved not only the angle, but the reflection of the sun coming off of that window, and then the way it kind of expands out past the window onto the red, so the red actually looks white. And I loved that shot. I thought that was so cool, and I probably need to lighten it in Photoshop maybe. I don't know, because I actually really like even the intense contrast. But because I had to darken it a little bit. I had to actually bring the f-stop down or up. I can't think what it is. Anyway, I had to decrease the exposure so that the sun would not overwhelm the image. That's why you're able to get that really blue sky. Now, jump to the second picture. This is the same day, same home, and look how different it looks. And also, slightly less interesting because the photo is taken almost straight on. Now, once again, part of what made that last graphic interesting, jump back to the first one if you would, Daniel, the other one. Look at, part of what makes this more interesting is also that I'm not looking at a flat surface. The whole thing has vanishing points. It's all, I'm shooting it right into the corner. And rather than looking at the flat image, you have these vanishing points that are going off in all these different directions, and it makes it so much more engaging. There's movement because of that. Now, if you go back to that next picture, go back to the next one if you would, Daniel. See how less interesting it is because we're so much more straight on with the graphic. Now go to the next one, number 3. And just this subtle change, in my opinion, look how much more interesting it looks with this subtle change. This was taken with a drone, obviously, and we moved the drone over maybe 20 feet. And because we were taking it at angle, so go back to the previous one. Look at this subtle change in angle, how much more interesting the picture is all of a sudden. And it was, once again, it's because we didn't take it straight on. It was taken kind of at a more unusual angle, where our tendency is to look at something straight on. As a human, we go and we look at something straight on to make something more interesting in a photograph, get off center. And that's what we did with the next one. We moved the drone over about 20 feet. And so go back to the third one again. And do you see, am I wrong about that? It's so much more, to me, it's so much more engaging because you add all these vanishing points to the photo. Where if you're straight on, it's way less interesting. And so if you take this graphic, and then of course you take the first one, which had all the exposure issues, which I actually liked, you have something way, way, way more interesting. And these pictures were all taken at the same day. But because we got down low on this one and we're able to get that sunlight reflecting in the window, and then you have the light washing around it. And isn't that interesting? It's a little bit like, have you ever noticed lightsabers in Star Wars? The lightsaber is not the color that you think it is. The glow around the lightsaber is the blue and the red and the green. The lightsaber is white. The lightsaber is white. And if you look at the heart or the center of the lightsaber, the color is white. It's the outer glow that you see the color. And it's similar here. The house is red, but most of the house that you're looking at right there is white. Yet somehow, you get it, but it's all that glow that does it. So that kind of adds life to the red somehow. And look at the intense contrast, because the red at the bottom is so deep. It's so deeply red. But at the top, you can't even tell that it's red. Anyway, I love that. I think that's so cool. So anyway, so we do have one picture of Zion's Tiny Getaway. So why don't we jump over to, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to jump over to this other mic so that we can jump to the other camera angle just for fun. So see if we can get me, we have this one's way too loud. We're hearing some major distortion on this one. Now this one, we're going to have to actually, where are we going to change yeah, because we do have these in separate, and I probably need to change the gain on this one. So, which is in the back of the mixer, and I can show you all how to do that later. And this camera is actually overexposed too. So what you want to do, go into Q menu on that one, and then down at the bottom, you'll see that you can there's a little dial-y wheel. There's a wheel at the top right with where your right thumb is. Or are you able to do it on the screen? Okay. And then you're able to darken it just a little bit.
Maybe a little darker.
There you go. That looks way better.
Okay.
Cool. Now nobody can see us because we're still just looking at the thing. So switch over to that camera. There we go. So now we have that camera. So I'm going to look over. Am I looking in the camera now? Cool. So what we're looking at now that we're about to pull up is going to be a picture of the tiny home getaway. And once again, if you've ever been to southern Utah, if you've never been to southern Utah, this gives you a sense of what's first of all what Southern Utah is like, and then this place that we've talked about a little bit called Zion's Tiny Getaway. This graphic that Daniel's about to pull up. So this yeah, you should be able to switch the camera to the right on this camera. There we go. Sweet. Awesome. This right here is a place called Zion's Tiny Getaway. And we've worked with them for quite a while. And they have this amazing place where they have all these tiny homes out on this massive piece of land, and it's a valley. And look at that. Look how amazing that is. And they have about, I don't know what it is, 15 to 20 tiny homes in this valley. And just imagine going and staying there and waking up in the morning and having that scenery around you. I mean, it's really, really incredible. And right there, not in the foreground, but kind of in the middle, you can see that's one of the tiny homes. Then you can see kind of off in the distance another one. And that, you know, you should, I'm going to jump over to this other thing. Jump over to the other quadrant so you can see because we're missing the, so move the bottom, move that camera over to the left. There you go. And bring that thing back up. Look at that butte. Is that what it's called? I think that's what it's called in the background. And what you can do is you can actually go rent one of these tiny homes and stay overnight. And these tiny homes are amazing because they're all run off of solar. So they have solar panels on the top of these things. You should check and see if it's distorting, because it sounds like it might be a little bit in the headphones. But just give it a quick listen and see it. Make sure that it's not pegging. So in the background there, you see that massive butte. You're down here in this valley, and there's a whole bunch of tiny homes, and you can actually go rent one of these tiny homes and stay overnight. And they're running off of. Is it distorting a little bit? So either turn down. What we need to determine is if it's the volume on. Have you adjusted the volume on the ATEM at all? Or just on the mixer? So take the mixer and just bring it down just a hair. I think, yeah, I'm going to have to adjust the gain in the back of it because I think it's going to be, and that sounds a little bit better, at least in my headphones right now. So, but these places are really, this is so amazing because what you see right there, that tiny home has some solar panels on the top of it, and it charges a battery throughout the day. And it's basically like living off grid. And you rent one of these tiny homes. You can stay overnight, 2 nights, 3 nights, whatever. And it's so incredible because imagine waking up in the morning, walking outside, and being here. And you know, these tiny homes, most of them are spread out from each other. Some of them very, very far from each other. But there's a few of them that are in little clusters that are closer, but they're not all that close to each other ultimately. But it's so absolutely incredible because you go down into this valley and there's that scenery right there, if you can imagine. And anyway, you go to zionstinygetaway.com and you can rent one of these things. And I tell you, if you live here in Southern Utah, you should go there sometime and rent one of these tiny homes and stay overnight and experience it because it's truly, truly really incredible. I've actually gone a few times myself, even though we do work for them. I've actually paid and done it a few times because I totally dig it. And it's really amazing. How does it sound?
It's still a little tinny and kind of reverb.
Is it distorting? Here, listen, Daniel, you mind coming up here and maybe just chatting for a few minutes, and we're going to adjust the volume or the audio a little bit and see if we can get this dialed in. So we're going to see if Daniel can just see how long he can talk, see how long he can make things up and keep a conversation going without another person. Actually, you can keep talking to Nicole.
Which one do you want to adjust?
I just need to be able to hear these microphones as much as possible here.
A villainous monologue. I don't know about that. Top of my mind. What's fresh? So, as of today, we were discussing how best to approach a Discord server and how exactly to utilize it, if not monetize it. There haven't been too many use cases or fine examples to point to and I guess arrive at, hey, this is a fine example of why we should be using it. Needless to say, though, taking the approach of attacking every social media platform at the same time, putting content out there just on every platform all together at once seems like a valid way forward. So as of today, we're putting down the infrastructure to build a server and see about applying our handle over it and other various forms of media.
Hey, Daniel?
Yes.
Why don't you tell us what a Discord server is, because I can actually keep learning while you're doing it.
So a Discord server. So I've been on Discord for somewhere around 7 to 8 years. It's been an existing platform,
Whoa. Are you serious? You've been using it for that long? Has it been around that long?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I'm an idiot.
long before Zoom, or about before Zoom, or maybe just a little bit before it, you had a platform called Discord, and in essence, the utility of it was a replacement for Skype. Whereas Skype was infamous for having huge latency, awful visuals, and just very iffy audio quality, you had a platform recognized by mainly like gamers, a need for smooth voice quality and later great visual stream performance. And as of right now, it's, years later in the making, it has stream performance to compete with Twitch if it so wanted to. The obvious utility of it right now is that it's a bit of a mix between, say, Reddit, traditional social media such as Facebook or Twitter, and i.e. a streaming platform, Twitch. And while there haven't been too many, we tried to make a use case like, well, let's examine Tim Pool and his utilization of it. And even then, it's still fresh. There aren't many people paving the way for the use case of it and trying to make maximum utilization of it. The only real companies I think that are out there that have made a great use of it are Microsoft with OpenAI, Midjourney, and their obvious use case of building their entire AI to art infrastructure on Discord and pretty much cornering the market right there on Discord. They're the only companies out there that have actually made great utility of it, and even now, 8 years later, it's still not fully realized the full, I guess, potential of it. I imagine you've heard it name dropped at least a couple of times, right, Nicole? Discord as a platform.
Yeah. What do you use it for primarily?
Mostly just as a bit of a social media platform. I never imagined it being utilized necessarily as a real social media platform, or I guess for a business case. It's always been just
With community, pretty much, right?
a community building thing.
Sure. Yeah, I've heard the art ones. I personally haven't used. I mean, I've had an account. I just never used it.
And it's very good at that, acting as a hub for artists or art-centric. It's not just gamers, it's kind of gamer adjacents or anyone that's into the realm of media, movies, art, pictures. Fandoms, a great way to put it. Definitely a central hub for anyone who's following or wants to gather around people who are fans of a given known IP, and usually in video games.
You'll hear people say like, "Oh, I have a Discord server. Come join."
Yeah, and as I was explaining to my boss, Robert, the market to be tapped into is, for the most part, millennials, Zoomers, and pretty much for the most part, gamers, because it became known as a, I don't know, if you have a brand, then it's almost like it was a natural like occurrence for you to just have a Discord, right? A place for your followers, the people that you were, that were influenced by you, to come and be around similar people of a like mind or interest. I know I have a couple. While I don't have my own Discord to the public, I myself have a couple of fandoms that I'm into just for the sake of following an influencer or two. What else is fresh?
Discord in particular?
Not Discord. I think I've
Yeah, I think you've
talked plenty about that topic. I had a friend who I respect quite a lot. He was telling me he's a mortgage dealer, and to get his perspective, he pretty much grounded me in my perspective on ChatGPT. And the reality of it is that it's not any idea or perspective that ChatGPT is like the catalyst or like the first coming of AI is kind of just a massive over-exaggeration. And it's all exaggerated or let's say it's exaggerated to the benefit of Microsoft, right? Because I don't know that they push the idea that it's AI when it's not. What it is it's a large language model, an LLM, and that's about the only way they've ever officially referred to it, because that's what it is. It's a piece of software that's been trained over large use cases, fed material, and now it spouts back material that it's drawn from. So in that sense, I guess a fine way to put it is when you think of like AI, right? If you thought about what it was 5 years ago, I think a criteria that most people thought of that you would have to meet is it would have to be self-aware. And if you interrogate ChatGPT for, I don't know, less than an hour, really, you arrive at the conclusion that, yeah, it's not self-aware. It is just repeating information that it's been fed.
Accumulation, a database of knowledge that it can pull from.
Yeah. And my initial impression upon seeing it, and still to this day, it was almost just out of the gate like an improved upon version of a web browser. A search engine, I should put it.
Yeah.
And that seems like, yeah. And while there's been some extraordinary things and very controversial things in the realm of art with the way it's been applied,
So much so.
I think the most obvious use case is pretty much that initial thing that everyone kind of figured out, is that, yeah, it's kind of best applied to browsers and just, helping you sift through information in a very efficient rate.
Yeah, because I know a lot of artists who claim that, AI is going to be the next big thing, and if you're not jumping on that, then you're no longer going to be relevant as a graphic artist, that type of thing. And so it's like, why not combine both? The real art that you are creating, and then this.
Yeah, like anyone that's afraid of, losing their job, that's probably on the forefront of being replaced by some kind of AI or LLM software, is reasonably afraid. Like, it's a repeat of the Industrial Revolution in a sense. You have a piece of software that can pretty much perform great tasks that weren't possible before.
Yeah.
But
like, where's the heart in it?
yeah,
That's the argument.
there's definitely a need for heart to be found. In terms of like the lost jobs, there are supplementary jobs being replaced. There's a new demand for a type of job to replace those that are being lost. Some of that's being like, as I think they've called it, chat prompting, or like the ability to manipulate the AI to get the performance you want out of it.
Okay.
I've done like a few months of playing with Midjourney's software and trying to figure out how to, tailor it to make an image that's just awesome. And it's
You
pretty
have to do
neat.
it multiple times, is my understanding. You have to do like layer upon layer, correct?
There's like an order of priority you attack it. So it's like you literally type /imagine, and then you kind of want to put the most important aspects of whatever image you're generating first. So you do like landscape shot, black on white, or dual color, monocolor. From there you can apply having that as like your settings, you dive right into subject. So it's like person, animal, dog, whatever the situation's occurring. Maybe object, supplementary object, description of landscape. And then last in priority, you apply like image effects. So like volumetric fog, what kind of millimeter lens you want it to appear as though it's coming out of. It's got extraordinary capabilities in that regard towards tailoring a very specific image with some amazing things. It can reference utilities such as Unreal Engine with its output, which is some phenomenal pieces of software for just cinematics. And yeah, after playing with it, it's a lot of fun. It's very interesting. And I think, coming back to the artist debate, there's been a lot of controversy over its use cases and whether or not it's being, I guess it's art theft. Because the only way it's generated, it's the pieces it generates, and with the quality that it's capable of, it's learned it from real life artists, real life art outputs.
That's the question, though. Isn't every artist copying something somewhere in some way?
And it's not just artists, it's every realm of forward thinking or innovation is some kind of
There's something that preceded it.
it's preceded from something.
But I feel like you can tell the difference between AI, like painting versus a real person's painting still. At least I can tell. But
And for the most part, I remain in that realm of ambiguity. It's like, yeah, I mean, what it puts out can be fairly original, but then you actually do have some very extreme cases where a person, to get the best possible like image quality, like the best, fine-tuned image, great details, phenomenal elements. The process you do it is you type the artist's name in the prompt. So after setting, you put inspired by, say, Da Vinci, Michelangelo, John Williams or whoever.
the styles that they're known for.
And it will, tailor that image, its prompting into that fashion. And after enough of those outputs came out, you actually have very specific cases where an artist can literally look at an image and you can compare the real life art to the generated art, and you can actually see parallels in the process, be it lines or applications of color, and how it's actually, in essence, copyrighted.
Yeah, I still think as you see it side by side, you can still tell the difference, even with all those nitpick details. But I've also spent many times at museums and stuff, and so
Oh yeah, to the trained eye, it's probably a lot more obvious.
yeah. Years of Photoshop too.
It's a strange thing because it's a phenomenal innovation. It's an amazing piece of software. Like, it's so fun to play with. It opens the realm of creativity up to so many people that didn't have the capability of producing that kind of art before.
And I know somebody who wants to make a book cover, and she does not want to paint it herself, and she does not want to, she just wants to have a quick and easy access to it. So she found out about this, so she wants to go this route. So that'll be very interesting to see what happens from that.
And for time versus effort, it's a no-brainer. Like, why wouldn't you use it, right? As long as we can get over the ethical hurdles that come with this, and do it in a reasonable way, where the artists who
Honor the
frankly, the artists, whose works all of this is derived from, get compensated in some manner. After that's met, I don't see why we can, all go forward with it.
This is super interesting, by the way. And the problem is we're having slight sync issues, mouth audio, so I'm just trying to adjust it, dial it in.
Gotcha.
So thanks for your patience.
Yeah, of course. What else? What else of interest?
Think of some things that aren't relevant to this.
Will you clap?
I'll do a visual for you.
It's still, boy.
Still off?
It's so weird because it's slightly off. If you could just keep talking for a couple of minutes.
Yeah.
Then that would be awesome.
Latest in, I don't know, my realm of education, finally got around to downloading Unreal Engine. I've been playing with the landscape building software. And if I can get competent enough at making maps, I'm just, that I'm frankly am in love with, then the use cases I can find applying that to some kind of, green screen LED wall effect, throwing actors in and props. It just sounds phenomenal, fun, and frankly, some of that's being used for what seems like the future of cinema. It's definitely a useful, albeit daunting piece of software to attack and learn. But that's definitely seems useful.
So if you were to learn it, what would you want to make with it? Like what kind of project the most?
I think most artists, at least people who are learning the software and they make projects utilizing the software, a lot of artists will either apply an asset already made or they'll make their own, but an attractive one is making like a couple of skyscrapers and then aligning them in such an order and playing a POV camera towards like the end of it. And then from there you can drop an actor in or foliage, what have you. And the software is famous for having the ability to have post effects. It acts as though it's its own virtual camera within its own little virtual reality. And with that perspective, you have, big skyscraper, sky view, custom lighting, visual effects all over. It comes out with phenomenally beautiful images, stills, and just cinematics in general. How has the Tears of the Kingdom performance been thus far?
Definitely had some glitches come out. I haven't performed any of them yet, but I've seen lots of people do it.
Like utilizing them?
Yes, finding them and then utilizing them.
Well, naturally, of course.
Of course, there's some rendering issues with the system itself because the Switch is not known exactly
For its performance.
yes, performance or graphics. So it's been out how many days? Since the 12th?
About a week or more.
Yeah, about a week and a half. It's insane the amount of things people have been able to do with it. It's 10 times, well, not 10 times. It is way bigger than the previous map, and it's overwhelming. So there's no way you could see everything within the space of like a week if you were playing that full week.
Does it feel like it sacrifices like map density? Okay. And is that to say that the layers weren't there before?
They were not there before. There was only one layer.
Hmm.
But you can literally jump off of platforms and go into like the main layer and then go into the underground. It's quite interesting. I'm thinking from like an engineering standpoint, like a software engineer. It's like, how did you create this? And my understanding is a lot of people who are in that realm have been confused as to how the Switch can even do that, create that.
Getting that kind of performance with such a demand over just, sheer size of map and the volume of content in it.
Yes, there's just so much.
It's impressive, I guess, for what the Switch is.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So I mean, it's a $70 game, and a lot of people are upset about that. But I feel like it.
Is that a price hike?
Huh?
Is that a price hike?
It is. It was 60 before, like the previous title.
Oh, shame on you, developers.
How do they add more and have the price go?
Right?
Yeah, it's been interesting seeing what people have created.
What are we thinking, Robert?
Let me come and talk on there for a couple more minutes.
Yeah.
Then we'll get you. You don't have to sit and keep talking. Can you talk for a minute? Because it's so I can't get anything synced up.
The quick red fox jumps over the lazy brown dog.
Okay, it's interesting because
It's like just off.
so let's I think we have the audio, and maybe you can just monitor the audio for a couple minutes, and let's just maybe just jabber for a few more. You can, okay, yeah, I'll switch. That's cool. Do I have my headphones here? Did I move them?
Are these them?
Yeah, that's it. And then let's try also doing the.
Sorry, it's my ears.
So are both microphones then up? So this microphone looks like it's off. Which kind of
Which one's that?
I shouldn't have done that. 'Cause now we're not going to have a very accurate sense of what was going on there. Dang it. Well, stakes are low. Doesn't make a huge difference right now. The audio sounds, oh geez, now I'm distorting.
Distorted.
It sounded great. Will you go listen to it somewhere other than the speakers and just see if I'm missing something? And it may be because I'm talking like 10 times louder than Daniel did.
Maybe. It's coming from this as well.
Yeah, I hear a little bit of distortion in
That's hard distortion.
both microphones.
Gosh.
So let me.
Yeah, it's distorting in here too.
Dang it! For 10 minutes I've been listening to it and it's been fine, and then all of a sudden it's distorted. Will you keep talking then for a minute, Daniel?
Yeah.
Sorry, man.
Oh, I gotcha. No worries.
Just speak. Where did you find the red fox?
The red fox?
Yeah, is it
I think
just
that's
like
a generic. I know it's a generic like
test
yeah
sound?
test sound
I haven't heard
because
before.
because it meets the qualification of voicing every syllable,
Yeah.
letter,
Mhm.
something like that. The pronunciation of every letter, I think.
Yeah, that makes sense.
What is, it sounds fine when I listen to it. What am I
Alpha,
missing?
Bravo, Charlie,
Is it because I'm talking too loud when I
Delta.
start talking?
You do.
Echo.
You are softer spoken than he is.
Will you tap on the microphone? Okay, will you tap on the other one? Okay, so what I need to, so we'll do this, Nicole. This is me, this right here, and this is Daniel.
Okay.
And then, so, monitor, kind of manage it, and then see which one now this time we do have to switch. And then adjust it, because Daniel talks about a lot quieter than I do. I get super excited and I start talking too loud.
Then it starts peaking.
And it drives people crazy too. So just try to manage it on that one volume thing. The one on the left is me. The one on the right is Daniel. And you know what? I should go turn off that speaker in there. We're going to drive us crazy. What's that?
It sounds fine right now.
Yeah. So
The speaker's probably fine.
it's going to drive me nuts.
All right.
So give
Charlie, Delta, Echo, Foxtrot,
okay.
Golf.
So I have to. So I heard a little bit about what you guys were talking about with the AI.
Mm-hmm.
So here's something interesting to think about, because you were talking about art, right? Is that what you're talking about?
Yep.
Yeah. The essence of it.
And there are some elements of art where it is going to be a real problem. But think of it this way, though. Back in the 80s, when music sequencing started, and what you were able to do is you could get a computer, and there were a lot of tools that weren't even a computer. They were just these little units. You could buy drum machines and whatever like that, that you'd be able to sequence up a series of instruments or sounds. You know, you could make the piano play whatever you wanted it to, and you could make it play faster than any human being in the world could play that piano piece. I mean, you could speed it up and speed it up and speed it up to the point that it was outrageously impossible for humans. But no one wants to listen to that. You would literally, what's that?
It's completely outside of the capabilities of just any person,
Yeah.
even experts, or the top of the.
And here's the
top of the line
thing.
people.
Would you ever go somewhere to listen to that?
There's value.
No.
There's value to be had in that. Yeah.
You
It's
want to go
impressive.
listen to a human achieve something. Like our ability to outdo humans has existed for a long, long time. Well, in instruments, for example, you can, or take it beyond that. Photography. You can take a picture of anything, but there's something about a painting where a human being has painted it that we elevate somehow. And it's the same thing with music.
Essence.
So what's that?
The essence of humanity.
Yeah. So when we start talking about AI replacing music or replacing, we've been able to electronically create guitar players that could play better in things that no human can actually do, but we don't care. We would actually pay money to go listen to a human being who has excelled at that skill, even though we already have equipment that can outdo you. Still, we don't. We somehow want to go listen to our own species and succeed at it. And so even though AI will certainly outdo some things, we still have this desire for humans, for the human touch, the human excellence. And that's why I think that yes, AI will do certain things, but AI in some of these areas has existed for a long, long, long time, and yet we still prefer the human execution over the AI execution. Does that make sense?
That's a fine observation, and it pretty much keys into, it begs the question, why does the human ear or the eye is so much more appealed when it's coming from the human? Push aside the limits, for example, AI being capable of exceeding great feats. There's something about, after so much time has already passed, can an AI even remotely attack a riff or, a pair of strings on a guitar the way a human can? The greatest of the greats.
And
I don't think they can. Not in any way that attracts attention that one would pick the AI over the man.
But see that's the point, because even. It's like the AI will eventually be able to create, I'm guessing, any sound, any attack, any approach, anything like that. But I'm not going to go to a concert and watch that. I want to watch a human who has developed the skill, who has put in the discipline. There's something magical about that, because I can listen to, you can program a computer to play anything that Eddie Van Halen did and better. But I don't care, and I'm not going to go pay money to watch that, because what is it? But you will pay money to watch a human who has excelled in that, and there's something about that, and I don't know that could ever go away. It's like you can. There's something about the Mona Lisa. There's something about the Sistine Chapel. We will all you can have AI create artwork that's way more detailed and but we won't care.
Yeah, it's about effort.
Because there's the human one that now the only question will be if we get to the point that where we'll go, well, was that made by a human? Yes, it was when it wasn't, But when you're watching things live, that's going to be the difference. You've gone to Comic-Con. Have you seen these guys that will do the painting right in front of you? They'll crank the music up and they're doing it. It's amazing. And I don't want to watch a computer do it. I would be so uninterested watching a computer create the thing, but watching a human being. But a computer could probably do it better and faster, but I don't care. I won't have any interest in that. I want to watch the guy throwing his arms around, the whole thing, the unexpected result that comes out of it is for some reason, it is more appealing. We have had AI that's been able to outdo humans for a long, long time, and yet we still go to concerts to watch the human. That's why there's certain elements that it won't be be able to replace it for that reason.
I guess that is speaking truth then to the top echelon of performers. I think then the case is to be made then that AI and its grasp on art, on all the arts, is a case for accessibility at the cost of performance. Because any layman now can draw up a Da Vinci now. Anyone that can write a line of code.
It doesn't feel earned.
Yeah, it's not earned.
There's a big basketball's going on right now, right? We've got the finals going on. There are AI robots that you could program to shoot a basketball that will never, ever, ever miss ever. You can put it in place. You could set it up. We could make that right now, and it will never miss, and no one will watch it. We want to see LeBron James shoot that ball. We want to see Michael Jordan do his thing. We don't care. My point is, we've had these things in place in different areas for a long, long time, these capabilities for a long time, and no one cares. No one is interested in it, and it's not going to replace LeBron James because it's the human being that has put in the time, that's put in the energy, that's put in the effort that we want to watch. And we already can replace him with robotics and AI. We already can. We've been able to for a long time, and it hasn't replaced, and it won't for that reason. Mm-hmm. There's something about our own species watching and knowing, because I know how hard it is to shoot that basketball, and I know a robot can outdo me. So what? I'm interested in watching LeBron James. I'm interested in watching Michael Jordan. I'm interested in watching the greats. And you could apply that to every sport. You can apply that to every art. The only way this would ever be, I think that could ever really take its place is if we didn't know the difference. If we thought we were looking at a human. That would be the only thing in that case that would replace it. Now, there are other places though where AI will take over. Like a lot of writing. We're already using it.
We're already at the point where we can't determine the difference between an AI written piece on a page versus a human. And I think there's an odd, I guess, obsession with everyone that's in the AI realm to be capable of deceiving an audience, right? There's a weird, almost like there's a weird emphasis on manipulation in that realm, and it's odd. It doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to look human, right? But for some reason, that's where all the focus is.
Did you ever see Ex Machina? Because they talk about a thing. I think it's called the Turing test, and it's a series of things that if an AI or a robot can do it, where you can't tell the difference between the AI and a human. Mm-hmm. And this movie called Ex Machina is actually a deep dive into this idea. And man, it is an amazing movie. If you've never seen Ex Machina, you should see it.
I've heard great things. Have not seen it.
It's so. I watched it and it messed with my head. Oh my gosh, because you get to the end of it and you go, whoa, wait a second. I mean, it's intense, but it's this thing. It's about creating something that can deceive the humans into thinking it's human. And I think it was called the Turing test. And there's a series of thresholds that if it meets these thresholds, you won't be able to tell that if it's a human or an AI or a robot.
Yeah, it's so odd. Why does it have to appear like it's human? Why does it have to, match our criteria of? Why does it sound like it has to be perfect English from a, AI recreation? It's so odd. Doesn't need to be, but it clearly attracts the human eye, and people are trying so hard to create that, to deceive the human eye and ear. It just gives you shivers.
Yeah, it hits our baseline of our fears of deception, like basic human fear. That's what I think. That's why we're obsessed with it overall.
Yeah, that's pretty interesting. And that's our baseline of being able to judge something is whether it's human, and then the safety of the whole thing. I mean, because we're going to get to a point in the near future where, and we're already there in some cases, where we're going to watch videos and you're going to go, did that really happen? I don't know. Maybe not. Maybe it didn't even really happen. And we'll get to a point eventually with even is that person actually real? Have you ever seen him? I've never seen the person in real life. And
we're there. There's both the major political parties have already put out videos, and mind you, they put out in the description, oh, this is an AI generated thing, but they've made hit pieces against the other party that's completely fabricated in every sense. So far as the images, the way it's put together, the audio, all of it is just generated, and you couldn't necessarily tell the difference if they didn't point out that it was AI generated.
Yeah, it's almost like you'll see our communities get smaller and smaller and smaller, because you're really going to retreat into what can I trust and who's real.
Yeah, what you know.
Yeah, and then it's like where we have this entire world, we're going to actually watch it shrink back down in some ways into here's what I know, here's the people I know, here's what I think is real at least.
And everything outside of that is just in question at all times.
Yeah, which is so strange to think that we'll be in that place. And then of course, as holographic images become more real, then you're even gonna...
We're probably gonna get an uptake of people more interested in intuition and that type of thing because they are.
Yeah, that's so interesting, the whole idea of intuition.
But
yeah,
holographic just sounds kind of like novelty. Like what's being attacked is your ability to perceive the world outside of your community, right? All of it, images, landscapes, journalism, all of it's going to be, under threat from AI. And at that point, until you go out and witness something in person, you don't know what's real.
And then if they get holographic images to the point that I don't know if it would get there. I guess it could. I mean, I've gotten to the point over the last couple of decades where I just don't. Oh, they'll never do that. I don't know. I never say never anymore. You go, I don't know. Maybe they will. Who knows? Well, there's I don't know if you're familiar with Ronnie James Dio. He's a famous heavy metal singer.
Not familiar.
He was like the heavy metal singer back in the 80s. And then he passed away about, I don't know, 15 years ago maybe from stomach cancer. A couple of years ago, they actually made a concert tour with Ronnie James Dio as a hologram. He's on stage with his band, and it looked. I watched. I didn't see it in person, but I watched some videos on YouTube, and it's kind of crazy. You're like, dude, it almost looks like that's the dude standing there, and you can tell it's a hologram. But it's just that technology is just going to get better, and then you'll get to a point you go, is that really a guy up there? You go up and touch. To see if there's really a human being standing. That's crazy.
That's a scary thought. With
that's
scary
crazy.
Repercussions right there. At some point, if they just tell you you can't.
Can we get back to talking about something like, oh, it's getting late in the day, isn't it? We've been sitting here for a long time. Yeah. Anyway, if anybody's actually watching this, thanks for we're experimenting with all of our live stuff.
Hope you were at least moderately entertained.
Yeah. Anyway, so we're gonna go off air and maybe do this another time or two before we go live for real with some clients. But that's what we're doing here today. Utah South Studios, thanks for joining us for a few minutes, and we're going to
take care.
We're going to cut out of here. What was your conclusion?